instance, if I had like, y equals x squared, right? We know that graph. Well, let's just talk about it here. Like, what is a multiplicity? Multiplicity is just how many times a 0 is repeated, right? So I'm not going to get into, like, if I had y equals x squared, we know the graph looks like this. Right? Now, if you were to go through the process of finding the zeros, you'd set y equals 0 and you'd solve, right? And you'd say x equals 0. Well, it equals 0, right? But again, it equals 0 twice, right? Because there's two of them, because there's x equals 0 and x equals 0, right? Because x times x, if you apply the zero product property, right, you factor that to x times x, right? So x equals 0 and x equals 0. So it's the same answer, just repeated. So when you have repeated zeros an even amount of time, that is going to be bounce. When you have zeros that repeat an odd number of time, that's going to cross, or it's going to take that same behavior. So just real quick, if I was going to change this to what if I had like x minus 1 squared and x plus positive 1, right, to the first power. So how does this look different? Well, again, this is going to be a cubic, so I don't want to get too much into there. So we know the end behavior. Hopefully you can, if you were to multiply this out, this would be a positive x cubed. So the graph is going to fall left, rise, right. If you were to set these both equal to 0, you'd have, using the zero product property, you'd have x minus 1 quantity squared equals 0, and x plus 1 quantity squared, or not quantity squared, equals 0. So here you can see that my 0 is x equals 1, but again, it's squared, so it has a multiplicity of 2. So at 1, I'm going to bounce just like I did over here. Whereas x equals negative 1, that only happens once. So therefore, it's going to cross. It's going to treat like a line. So obviously, my graph here is not very well graphed, but you can see the graph would look something like that. So the multiplicity is just how the behavior of the zeros is another way to look at it. Basically how that graph goes ahead and repeats, or how that behaves as it intersects.